Hey, Swerve, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man.
That's awesome. So coming up on Wednesday, we get a Falls Count Anywhere match, you and Leon Ruff, the first of its kind for you in NXT, this Falls Count Anywhere match. Do you see this as a chance to kind of further show the audience what you're fully capable of in the ring, to the NXT audience, that is?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's honestly, but it's also showing new viewers of the NXT universe and WWE universe what I've been kind of brought up into, that type of stipulation, as these types of, aggressive, a little gritty type matches. Like, I came up in the world of that in a sense, so to people that follow me for the last 10, 12 years of my career, they're going to be like, okay, we know what we're going to see, strap in, get ready to go. And if they're sitting next to someone who's unfamiliar, they're going to be the one telling them, like, hey, you don't know what you're about to witness. This is going to be something special.
Yeah.
There's going to be something also uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. And it's going to be a fun match, too. I think Leon Ruff is the perfect opponent for you in this type of match. I mean, you guys have had a handful of matches already. The last match you guys had on TV a couple of weeks ago was awesome. It was a lot of fun for the time that it was given. And speaking of the rivalry that you and Leon have had in recent weeks, how have you enjoyed these recent run-ins with Leon? And have you kind of found him to be that perfect foil as you develop this kind of new aggressive side of your character that we see on the show?
He is definitely my Spider-Man to my Green Goblin.
That's a great comparison.
That's the best way to put it. And honestly, I've said this before, that this type of match truly, honestly, is more in favor of Leon, because he is the environmentalist. He's the one that jumps around, uses the TWC and all the platforms around him to turn defense and offense. It's almost Jackie Chan-like. Jackie Chan was never aggressive fighter. He always had to be on defense and use what he had around him as offense. So for him to be put in this position, it's like I have to be on my toes now. But that's what's making me better.
Yeah.
As much as I can beat on Leon and throw him around, I also have to remember this man's a former North American champion. I can't take my eye off him, because Johnny Gargano made that mistake and he became the champion for it.
Yeah.
Gargano lost his championship, so I have to be mindful as well. I just can't just because this kid never stays down as well. As much as I can't stand this little guy, he never stays down. He's always fighting and getting back up. So he's bringing a side of me out that maybe I necessarily didn't think I had to. Now I think I might have to use that weapon that I was storing till the end of the game on my RPG game elements, to all my RPG video game nerds. I was trying to store some ammo. It might be time to bring that out now, because this guy just won't stay down, and he's still a threat.
What's your favorite RPG game?
Ooh, I might have to go way back, because I haven't played any new RPGs in a long time. Okay, this one is probably remiss to a lot of people. Does Saga Frontier ring a bell to anybody? Yes. Okay.
It doesn't. It doesn't for me. I'm not familiar with that title. Yeah.
Oh yeah, man. I think I remember my stepdad, when I was younger, brought home a stack of PlayStation games, and none of them were good. It wasn't like the AAA title, PlayStation games. They're kind of these are games that nobody's ever heard of. PlayStation released a lot of those games. And Saga Frontier was on. I put it on. I ended up having a blast playing it for hours. And I'm not that RP. That's not my genre. But I played that for hours. Woke up, played it again for hours on a weekend when I didn't have school, and then I got to a point and I didn't finish it. But man, I remember that. I remember that game vividly.
I think we all get to a point where we can't finish the game, so I can totally relate to you there.
Yeah.
It happens with so many games. It becomes tough after a while, especially when you're a kid too. There's so many games out there, so it's difficult to you want to get to them all, so you can't spend forever trying to beat them. But back to Leon Ruff for a second. You talked about your chemistry and the matches you guys have had so far, and you guys have had a lot of fun matches up to this point. Is there anyone else in NXT in the last 2 years that you've been here that you feel has really brought the best out of you as a competitor? I know you had a couple of matches with Jake Atlas earlier this year, Santos Escobar last year that were a lot of fun. Actually, just a number of people. Is there anyone else that comes to mind as someone that you really feel is taking you to that next level in the ring so far in NXT specifically?
Roger Strong. For sure. That man, he doesn't pull back, and he tests every single person he's in the ring with. But I feel like he really tested me, and he definitely he pushes his opponents in many ways. That's one thing about him. Like, he's such an aggressor, such like a forward moving guy. He doesn't let up off the gas pedal. Those flames of strikes just flames you, man. But afterwards, like, I think he's always like for the longest time in his career, he's always been the gatekeeper of whatever promotion he was ever wrestling for. So I still think he still holds that title in NXT, and I think he's going to hold that for WWE. Like, I really put him up there as one of those guys. Like, I put him up there with the AJ Styles. As far as in-ring competitors, I put him up there with the Samoa Joes.
Yeah, for sure. And that was one of your first real matches on the show. I mean, obviously you'd been there since earlier that year, but after the breakout tournament, that was one of your first televised matches, right? Was it against Roderick? Was it for the North American title too, or was that non-title?
No, he didn't win the title yet at that time.
Oh, okay.
But at the time when we were doing NXT live shows on the road, I did have an NXT North American title shot against him.
Oh, okay.
And nobody actually ever saw this match. This was also an NXT live show that I worked on. I wrestled him a couple matches in a row. It was Buffalo, and then we went into Canada. It was Damian Priest. Yeah. Nice. For sure. He was one that was. I felt like he was a gatekeeper for a while too.
Yeah, for sure.
Until he's really started getting into that zone and really took off and became North American champion.
Yeah. We never got to see that on TV, right? We never got to see you and Damian in a televised match on the show?
Nope. It was just on NXT Live. I thought, another person I would say, this person always always brought out the best in me, no matter what. Leo Rush.
Oh, absolutely. Leo Rush is awesome.
Yeah. Always. He is a Leon Ruff times 10.
Yeah.
As far as speed. That boy moves, and if you're not on your toes, you will get put on your ass. Excuse my language. That man is awesome, but him and Garza.
Yeah, Garza's great too. Garza's awesome. Speaking of Leon Rush, or not Leon Rush, Leo Rush actually. Speaking of Leo, just the last couple of days, it's been rumored this whole MLW working relationship, regardless of whether it's true or not. It could obviously just be false reporting, whatever. As someone who spent time in that promotion before coming to WWE, do you hear something like that and get really excited? I could potentially rekindle my rivalry with a guy like Leo Rush. Is that something?
I am all for crossover.
Yeah.
I'm a big proponent on crossover. If it makes sense. If it makes sense and it's beneficial, I am all for a crossover on with the branding, whether it's talent, whether it's like I said, I loved the Bad Bunny match at WrestleMania because it was crossover appeal and he took it seriously. He worked hard. He was passionate. And he enjoyed it. He enjoyed what he was doing. So therefore, us as viewers enjoyed watching him. That's the big thing, that we put a lot of pressure on ourselves as performers and WWE superstars to have the best matches, to go out there and make history like a Bianca and a Sasha. Go out there, that's a lot of pressure. But when you look like you're enjoying doing such a thing, then everybody enjoys watching it, and they feel a part of it, and I feel like nobody's going to enjoy it more than people that are crossing over. they have to enjoy it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, we'll see. You never know what happened in the world, what's going to happen in the world of wrestling, especially in 2021. Things are happening all the time that's you never thought would have happened a year ago, so you never really know. But with you specifically,
you never know.
Yeah, you never know. And you mentioned earlier your career, how it dates back 10, 12 years, and how we're seeing these matches from you now in NXT and having them really over the course of your career. And you've been Swerve, obviously, since well before you arrived in WWE. But it seems like only in the last couple of months we've been able to see what Swerve is all about. Do you feel that same way, that you're really kind of killing it right now with the character stuff and kind of getting more comfortable with that type of stuff? Or do you think your character's kind of been clearly defined since day one when you arrived in NXT?
No, I definitely wasn't like. I definitely wasn't clearly defined yet, and I'm happy about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like I'm really happy about that. I'm really happy that there's still more layers to peel off with me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always thinking, I'm always thinking several steps ahead, and that's just the way my mind works. Especially with like putting podcasts together, I'm thinking. Right, we just did episode 45 with Donnell Jones. I'm thinking of episode 102.
Yeah.
We just put out 2 albums together on Spotify, Swerve City GPS and Swerve City Humble Beginnings.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking of album 5, and I'm thinking of collaborations and who and possibly where features can go. I never just think of the moment. I'm always thinking ahead. So with this character, like people and view, the hardest thing right now is just like entertaining the viewers.
Mm-hmm.
The viewers they want the results first, and then they want the steps second. And it doesn't work. And it doesn't work like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, because they're just like, oh, there's so much entertainment. There's so many things developing on all these different brands, all these different segments on the show. But for me, the most important goal was to give a different vibe, a different feeling. When you notice me for like a minute in the labs promos that I've been doing,
yep,
you stop and you kind of like sit up in your chair a little bit and you listen and you scoot forward. I always want to give a different vibe or a different feel. Like I said this on another interview today. I said it's almost like if you're watching NXT as a whole, between 8 and 10, you're watching Willy Wonka. And you understand the story. You understand, like, oh, they're in the chocolate factory. There's all this candy. Oh, man, there's all these different delightful things. You got Oompa Loompas. Then they go into the tunnel. And just that tunnel, that moment, you're kind of like, wait, whoa, what's this?
Yeah.
And it gets unsettling. Things start changing. The music, the tone, it all shifts. And you just get, and you kind of like start squirming in your chair a little bit because you're uncomfortable. Like, wait, this is a children's movie. This is a family film. What's going on here? And then it goes back to then when you get out on the other side of the tunnel, like, all right, guys, everybody off the boat. We're continuing on. Wait, we're not just going to talk about what we just saw. That's the kind of vibe. That's what I want to give. This is like such a small moment of the movie, you could possibly miss it. But man, like, I want to change the vibe of the show, and that's where I'm at right now. I'm starting to give a different vibe, an unsettling feeling for the show and my character. And I wouldn't have, wouldn't have gone through those hardships, I wouldn't have gotten to that ability to do that and to know and to feel that I know what I'm doing is right. I know and I feel what I'm doing is like I know it. I know what I'm doing, and I'm into it in a different way. Nobody can tell me what to do and how to do this and this, and they're like, just go. We have the camera on. The red light is on. Just go. And I'm like, yes.
First of all, that's a great analogy. Second of all, with like the promo that you cut last week on the show, like you said, it's something different than anything else on the show, and it really, gets you engaged, it gets you intrigued. That it was really good stuff. Do you have any inspiration when you do those type of promos, those vignettes? Because they're really cool, or is it really just kind of going off the cuff for whatever feels right for you?
I definitely go off the top of my head with it. Like I said, it's literally point the camera and click and let me work and create. And it's stress-free. But for my first inspiration for this transition was I don't want to give all my tricks away, but
yeah.
the very first inspiration was I was watching Demolition Man and seeing the Simon Phoenix character from Wesley Snipes.
Nice.
It was just like, oh my God, this guy is sinister. He's awful. He's doing drugs. He's like kidnapping people. He's holding hostage. He's doing like a 187 and like taking on cops and like just innocent bystanders. He doesn't care, but I can't take my eyes off of him.
Mm-hmm.
Scene by scene, he steals every scene he's on, and he's laughing about it. And I was like, oh man, I might have something here. And then now I'm this evil scientist music producer that turned that way, which I fully, which is my other passion with the music. And so we're combining. So it's not like a direct thing. It's like, if anything, you wouldn't even have noticed that kind of inspiration from where we at with it, because like it's not direct. It's just so many layers. There's so many layers to inspiration to what I have. But that was my first initial one. Mm-hmm. And I like my template, and I kind of branched off of that, and I started adding all these different elements into it.
Yeah. Have these elements been unique to Isiah Swerve Scott in NXT, or have you just kind of channeled, who Shane Strickland was before coming to NXT? And how different, or how similar, rather, are Shane Strickland and Isiah Swerve Scott from before WWE and who you are now?
They're two different people. Mm-hmm. They're definitely two different people. And there's buyer's remorse with fans that definitely know me beforehand. They're like, oh, I miss Shaka Khan. I miss coming out to that. I miss it. I'm like, oh, trust me, I miss it too. Yeah. But like, I'm pretty sure there was fans that missed Final Countdown from American Dragon, mm-hmm. Bryan Danielson. But guess what we turned into? We learned to adapt and move on to yes, and what he's coming out to. And now that's just a staple. That's like now that's like a household name.
Yeah.
Yes, and the music. You know who it is before they even come out. That's like I feel like the fans will take to the evolution of Isiah Swerve Scott and still have a nice place in their heart where Shane Strickland was left behind. But it just doesn't. Shane Strickland doesn't work for Isiah Swerve Scott, who is now older, now more mature, now doing very, very villainous things. Mm-hmm. It's like two different people.
And you talk about that evolution. It's been cool to see that evolution of your career over the years, coming to NXT as Isiah Swerve Scott. Last question for you, man. As part of that evolution, I've always been a huge fan of Lucha Underground, and your work with that promotion was awesome as Killshot. Can you kind of talk about your time there, as well as the part that played in the evolution of who we're seeing today in NXT?
Oh man, that gave me the confidence to be a performer on TV. Mm-hmm. That like, especially on a roster that's stacked as it was, like Morrison was like the top person with Prince Puma, Ricochet.
Yeah.
So much talent. Like you had the Phoenixes, the Pentagons, you've had the Cages, you've had the Blue Demon Juniors, the Chavos, Guerreros. Then you had like some of the most athletic human beings that you've ever seen on planet Earth, mm-hmm. all on one card. Aerostar, like jumping off of rafters, like where do you find yourself where do you fit in?
Yeah.
Where do you make your, like, because me personally, there's a lot of things in the ring I can do, but I just don't do it as good as them. Mm-hmm. That is truly what they are made for and what they've done. They made a career off of it. And me jumping into that lane and trying to compete with that, it would just do me a disservice. Yeah. So I had to take a step back, really like sit all night in my hotel room and just sit and think and really think and be patient and understand. Then I just went a different way and just got gritty. And then honestly, it's honestly like the Leon Ruff situation. It was the least likely opponent for me is mm-hmm. what really helped me shine through. It was Marty the Moth Martinez.
Yep.
He really helped me. He really brought something to the table that I could utilize, and I could really start, like, once again, getting into my lab, mad scientist lab and like, oh man, we could do this, I can do this with this, this. There was like so many, and he was bigger than me, so it was like the one person that won't stop, the one person that won't stay down versus the person that won't, like, that keeps getting up.
Yeah.
You know, it was two forces, and they were just clashing over and over again. You didn't know which one was going to, like, either they're both going to be out, or, you know, one of them is like going to have to subside, you know? Yeah. So it brought out so much new elements to me, and that nobody else was really doing on the show. And I was like the smaller guy, and I had the military aspect that was really different than having like tribal, like lucha heritage in the character. Mine was original, and that was like another idea that like I came up with and stuff like that. It was a great turning point, and it was something I needed for sure.
What was that stip match that you guys had? Was it like the boot camp match or something like that? Because it was awesome.
Yeah, Weapons of Mass Destruction.
Yeah, there it is.
Yes,
was crazy.
Weapons of Mass Destruction match, the first and only one, and I was honestly proud of that for the fact that my character created a stipulation match.
Yeah,
a character that I came up with was so in depth that it created another stipulation for the show that literally changed the entire arena for it.
Yeah.
And it spawned another character with Dante Fox as well. So that really helped me be a creator for TV.
Yeah.
Now I'm doing that to the next level with NXT.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's super cool, too. We're seeing the presence of the promotion now. Like, you mentioned a lot of those people, they're doing stuff now. A lot of them are in WWE. Morrison and Ricochet are on Raw, but even in NXT, yourself, we have Karrion Kross, who was there for a little while, the NXT champion. Escobar was there as King Cuerno. You guys have obviously had your run-ins, so it's been super cool to see the... I don't know if presence is the right word, but, you know, the effect that had all these years later, which is awesome. But, yeah, it's cool seeing you killing it right now in NXT, dude. This has been a lot of fun. But thanks for the time. People can catch you every Wednesday, or rather every Tuesday now in NXT, and you're facing Leon Ruff tomorrow. Yeah. In the Falls Can Anywhere match.
The landscape has changed.
Yeah.
The landscape has changed.
Yeah, it's crazy. It hasn't, you know, entirely sunk in yet, so just got to give it some more time. But that Falls Can Anywhere match, dude, tomorrow is going to be a lot of fun. So thanks for the time, dude. I appreciate it.
No problem. Thank you very much, man.
Absolutely, Swerve. Have a great day.
Yes, youtube.com/Swerve City Podcast. Subscribe.
Oh, definitely, man. I forgot to get the plug in there. All right, I'll be sure to include that as well.
Yes. Appreciate it. No problem.